Alterations, it's Tiana here today, and I am back. I'm so excited to be back, to be doing more free sews. I took a break during the summer, but I missed y'all so much, and I missed my machines, and so here we are. Today we're going to be working on a free pattern by Tiana's Closet. It is the Juniper Ruffle Hem Sheath Dress. This is a really cute fitted dress. I'm gonna post a picture here. I'm gonna be breaking a couple of rules today. This pattern is meant to be done with a woven fabric, but I wanted to be crazy and do use a knit fabric because how gorgeous is this fabric, and don't you think you will look perfect with this pattern? So that's what I'm gonna do. So we're gonna get started. All right, so the first thing I'm gonna talk about is the fact that when I cut out this pattern, I went ahead and cut out my size. So usually I wear a size medium for tops and a size large for bottoms. And I went with an overall large because of the fact that this is a fitted dress, and I just wanted to make sure that it was going to not be super tight, too tight. But because this is a knit fabric instead of a woven fabric, it might be a little bit big. So there's a couple of things I'm going to do. I'm going to obviously omit the zipper, which is actually going to make this sew a lot quicker and easier. And number two, I am going to go ahead and I'm going to baste basically the whole dress together with my sewing machine, just kind of sew it with a long straight stitch and try it on, and then going to go ahead and serge it all. And the reason why I'm doing this is because this pattern has the darts at the front, and that is the one thing that you want to make sure that fits correctly. If you sewed up the wrong size and the lines might be over to the outsides or might be too close to the inside, so you want to make sure that that's in the right position. And honestly, ripping serger stitches is a lot harder than just pulling out a basting stitch. So that's what I'm going to do first. We're going to go ahead and do it all on the machine, and then we're going to try it on and go from there. Let's do it. All right, I've cut out all my pieces, and I don't know if my live posted or not. I went live the other day here on my channel, and I cut the whole fabric with you, and I cut it just exactly like the pattern called for. And then for my lining, I was not planning on doing a lining, but then I did because of the way that the neckline is done and the way that the sleeves are done. I went ahead and cut out the lining. Now, if you didn't want to do lining, this is perfectly doable. I was thinking about doing some binding around the neck and the arms, and I'm still kind of wondering if I should have done that or if I like the lining idea, just because I'm not quite sure how thick it's going to be. But we're just gonna go with the lining for now, and if for some reason I hate it, I may just go ahead and cut out the lining, because the lining just gets sewn at the neck and the arms right here. So we're gonna go ahead and just go for it. I have a black fabric for the lining, and then I have this beautiful fabric that's got this velvet flowers for the main fabric, and it's got not a ton of stretch. It's no stretch this way and then a little bit this way, horizontal stretch, not vertical stretch. So I think it's gonna be perfect for this. We're gonna get started with, actually I'm gonna keep the pieces together, reason being, I want the backs with the backs and the front with the fronts. That's over there. So we're gonna start with the front. So this is the front center. And I'm gonna keep the lining over there because I am going to do sew the whole outer first, just like I said, to try it on. So we've got our bodice here, our bodice front, and we're gonna go ahead and sew on those sides. So I'm gonna grab my front side pattern pieces. So this is the back sides. I'm gonna put it over here, and this is the center back. So those are my two back pieces, so assume that these are my front pieces here. I'm gonna make sure. Front piece, yeah. I'm gonna put this aside. I'm gonna go ahead and face my front piece right side up here on my mat. I'm gonna grab my sides. And what you can do is you can place them right next to each other like so. And I have these little markings that I went ahead and cut as I'm cutting it. They have on the pattern piece, they show you the little markings that way, because that's how you're gonna match up. So I'm gonna face them up, and then I'm gonna turn them around and face them right on top. So I'm gonna start with one side and do the same on the other side. So we'll start by facing them right sides together. We start here kind of at the top and go all the way down. You're gonna be slowly turning as you go. And this is what's gonna give you that cup here. See how it like kind of bulks out already? Because that's gonna kind of bulk out a little bit for the front here. And we're gonna go all the way down to the bottom. And then we'll do the same on the other side. All right, you can go ahead and sew that up, and and then come back, but I'm gonna go ahead and do this one and do our back at the same time because we're doing exactly the same thing with the back piece. Now, I did not think about this. The back piece, where is my back piece? It's cut in two, and the reason why it's cut in two is because of the fact that you're gonna have that zipper in the back, so you would be adding that zipper, right? But I'm not going to add the zipper on this one, so I could have cut it in just one piece here down the back, and that been fine. So what I'm doing first is I'm going to go ahead and sew up that side seam, that back seam here. So I'm matching those two back pieces, and I'm just sewing it close because I am not adding a zipper. Since this is a stretch fabric, I don't think I need a zipper. And once I sew it all together, like I said, I'm gonna sew it on my sewing machine first just to see how it fits. If for some reason I try to put it on and it's like, ooh, this is not budging, I really need a zipper, then we can add a zipper then, because we'll just remove that basting stitch. Okay, so if you were going to add a zipper, you would be doing all the steps and you would be doing the zipper at the end of the sew. But again, since I'm not, I'm moving on. So now I'm gonna do the sides as well, just like I did the sides for my front bodice. So there's my one side and here's my other side, and we're just gonna match it up to those side seams. Now at the same time, exactly what I'm doing right now will be done with my lining, and that lining is a black fabric, so it's gonna be kind of hard to tell what I'm doing, but I'm gonna be doing the same exact thing. But I'm gonna go ahead and sew the outer first, and then I'll sew the lining after. So all these steps that I'm taking right now, you could be doing separately. Sew the back first, sew the sides first, go to the other side. But I like to do them all at once, and honestly having clips really helps me, allows me to do that because they don't fall off, they just sit nice. Now I could go ahead and place my front and back right sides together and sew up the side seams, and maybe I'll go ahead and do that. We're gonna try to get this done quickly. And let me know in the comments below what do you do when you're sewing? Do you pin everything together and then sew it, or do you do one thing at a time? And again, I'm doing all of this on my sewing machine first with a straight stitch, a long basting stitch, so that way I'll try it on and see how it fits because I'm not sure of the sizing yet. And then once I try it on and I see what I like or don't like, then I can go ahead and sew it with my serger. So we're sewing the side seams and we're also sewing the shoulder seams. I'm telling you, this pattern is so easy to sew up. The only part that's a little scary is the zipper, and that's really not even scary. I'm just omitting it just because I have this fabric and it's gorgeous. All right, let's go sew all that on the sewing machine. Making a long straight stitch on my sewing machine. And it doesn't matter where you start, we're just gonna go all the way around the whole thing. All right, so here we are. I think it's looking like I thought it was going to look. So the bottom portion fits perfectly. I love how it fits, starting at the waist all the way down. I think it's super cute and flattering. I think with the ruffle, it's just gonna be perfect. This would even be cute without the ruffle. It's so cute. Anyway, for the top, it is a little bit bigger. I should have just graded because I know that I'm a smaller size up top, and I don't know why I didn't do that. That's what I would recommend you to do. Hindsight. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my sewing machine and I'm going to sew right along the seam allowances, all the seam allowances. Go from the waistline and I'm just going to go in a little bit to take more seam allowance, which would be kind of taking it in that extra half an inch maybe that is different between the two sizes, 1/4 inch, half an inch. So I'm gonna take it in, I'm gonna try back on, and then we'll move from there. All right, so like I said, I'm just going to go in about 1/4 inch from the seam allowance, from where I stitched, all the way and all the seams. And I'm gonna go up to this notch here, which I'm assuming is the waist. So I'm going this way, and then I'm gonna slowly taper it out to that one edge. So I'm gonna show you that, how it does go slowly out into that. So let's go ahead and do that to all of them. See how I have that seam right there? And then I'm gonna go ahead and try it on. And if it's too tight, I can always make it a little bit smaller, maybe take out the back seams if the back, loosen up the back a little bit, or, you know, however. But we're gonna go ahead and do that to all the sides, all the seams, and try it on again. All right, friends, we're getting there. I think that definitely did the trick. It looks so good, nice and fitted here along the top. And then the bottom fits really, really nice. I think this is gonna be gorgeous. I think you could definitely, if you wanted to not line it, you could definitely use some binding and bind the whole neckline and all the way around the back, and then the arms, and that would be good to go. Or you could fold under and top stitch all the way around. That's another easy way to do it. Easy peasy, all done. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm going to go to my serger, change it to black thread, and serge all the seams, just following my guide. And then I'm gonna do the same thing for my lining. And what I wanna remember is that I took more seam allowance at the top and then less seam allowance at the bottom, and do that for my lining as well. So it's gonna be just the same steps I did for my outer to my lining, and then we'll come back and we'll do our hem, and we'll be done. We'll attach our lining and outer together, and then we'll do our hem. Almost done. This is such a quick and easy dress, and it is so cute. All right, friends, so I made a little bit of a mistake, which I'll explain later in this video. I went ahead and sewed the shoulders together, as you'll see here, but I'm not supposed to sew the shoulders together yet. We'll be sewing them later. Alrighty, so my lining is done. Again, I just did the exact same thing with my lining that I did with my outer. And what we're going to do is we're going to fit, so my lining is right side out, my outer is inside out, so we're gonna fit them right sides together. So matching the right side of my liner with the right side of my outer, because we want those seams to match up. That way they'll be on the inside. All the seams will be on the inside. So we're gonna go around the whole neckline and around the whole, around the neckline and around the both arm sides, and attach these together, right sides together. Make sure you match up those seams so that they're together, and then go all the way around. Right here, your shoulders should be opened and not sewn together. All right, I'm gonna put that aside and go do that. But while I'm at it, I'm also going to prep my hem. Now, I didn't have enough fabric to cut both of them on the fold, so one of them is cut half. So I'm going to sew up that seam. If you were able to cut them both on the fold, you won't have this back seam, but I have a back seam because I wasn't able to. But if you were able to, then what you're going to do is you're going to sew up those two side seams to connect and create one nice big ruffle. I'm gonna go sew neckline up. I'm gonna sew these side seams. While I'm over there, if you wanted to, you can go ahead and steam and hem the bottom of the dress. You can also put in a long basting stitch to gather this top of this ruffle, because we're going to fit it into we're gonna attach it to the bottom of our dress. So we wanna go ahead, and if you wanna put that basting stitch in now, that's how I'm going to gather. I want to mark my front so I know exactly where my front is. Actually, I have a notch already right there, so that's great. And I'm going to start on the back because of the fact that
I have that seam in the back. We're gonna leave a tail of thread and we're gonna go all the way around with that long basting stitch. Okay, being that this is a really heavy fabric, I'm gonna go ahead and do 2 rows of basting stitches just to make sure that I don't break my thread as I'm trying to gather this.
All right, friends, so you saw my lining and you saw my outer. When I gave you the warning not to sew the shoulders, I had sewn the shoulders. So this is after when I made the mistake. Oh, I didn't read my instructions all the way, and because I was doing a hack of no zipper, I kind of just went for it. The way that you're supposed to sew it is you're supposed to sew not the side seams or the back seam yet. You sew the shoulders and then you sew everything lined. You sew the lining first and then you turn it and you close everything, right? Because we're hacking it to have the zipper, I went ahead and sewed everything. So the way to do it now is, because now you should be at the point where you don't have the shoulder sewn in, but you have the lining and you have the outer. I already sewed it because I was showing you how to do it incorrectly, and I did it incorrectly. I didn't want to pick it all out, but I'm going to show you what you're supposed to do. So we have our lining and our outer, and we're facing right sides together. We're going to sew around our front neckline, right sides together, lining and outer, around our arm side, which I picked this side because I was trying to figure out what to do, around our whole arm side. So this is the shoulder seams. So we're going to sew that arm side around the back, right sides together, all the way around, and then the other arm side, right sides together. So let's go ahead and sew that, and then I'm going to show you how I'm going to turn it and how I'm going to attach the shoulder seams. All right, so now that those are sewn and we've got just your holes here in the top, we're gonna turn it right side out, and you're gonna see what I mean when I tell you how we're going to sew the shoulder seams together. I'm gonna show you. So now I've got my dress all put together around the neckline, around the back, around the arm size, except for now I got to do my shoulders. So this is how I'm going to do them. I grab my shoulder, and this is good to learn too, like if you don't want to have a seam when you're sewing a shirt and you've got like, how do I sew that? Well, you're going to grab this one, either one, and you're going to fold it to the, actually let's do this one, the bigger one. We're going to fold it to the inside. And then we're going to grab this and make sure that it's lined up correctly and tuck it in there. And then we're going to do the same on the other side. And I'm going to make sure it's straight, tuck it in there. Then I'm going to go to the inside of the dress, inside of the lining, to find that area where I did that. So this is the inside of the dress. Okay, so here's the inside of the dress. Here's my sleeve, and here's my other sleeve. I'm sorry, my shoulder seam. Here are my two shoulder seams, and we're gonna match them up right sides together here. So here's the one that I tucked underneath there, see that? But you just wanna match it right sides straight together. And I'm gonna do the same for the other one. Right here it is. Make sure it's not twisted. To make sure it's not twisted or anything, sometimes I like to go ahead and once I clip it, just kind of turn it again and see it, like there's the one sleeve, there's the other one, and it's straight, it's not turned or twisted or anything. And then I can go back and sew it, okay? All right, so now we're gonna go ahead and put our ruffle together, and we're gonna grab our ruffle. Here's the bottom of my dress, and we're going to gather that ruffle to fit the bottom of my dress. So I'm gonna pull on my basting stitches so that way I can gather it. I'm gonna match up. Here's my front and here's my side seam, so I wanna make sure that they match up and then spread out these gathers evenly. And then I'm gonna turn it and do the same on the back side.
Now I'm gonna pull from the other side of the basting stitches. All right, friends, I hope this hasn't been confusing to you. When I hack a pattern, you know, sometimes hacking a pattern makes you switch everything around and rethink everything you're doing. I want to encourage you, you know, if you get to a step where you're like sewing your dress and then when you're sewing anything and you get to a step and you're like, oh my word, I completely messed this up. There's always a way to fix any mistake that you've made while sewing. A lot of the times it includes a lot of seam ripping, but we can fix it and it can turn out into a beautiful dress. So don't stress. This is why I like to show my mistakes and kind of talk you through it, because we want to learn together and not stress over a little simple mistake, and you can still make a beautiful dress. All right, so I've got my skirt gathered here, my gathered hem. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to fit it into my dress. So I want to match up, like, where's my front seam here, so I know exactly where that front is gonna go, and match up, where's my little front. You had a little mark for my front. Oh, okay, no, that's my side seam. These are my side seams. Okay, so my front is right here. I want to make sure that this is nice and evenly gathered, because when I attach it, I want it to look nice. So I want to make sure it didn't look too evenly gathered here at the front, and that's definitely the part that I want it to be really nice at the front. Okay, so here's my notch for my front, so I'm going to mark that here and I'm going to connect it. I'm going to go to the side seam here, I'm going to connect that, and I am only attaching it to the dress. I'm not attached to the main. I'm not attaching it to the lining, just because I want the lining to be free. You can attach it to the lining if you want to, but I don't want to. I want it to kind of lay freely. Okay, and my back seam here. And then I'm going to pin all the way around. Make sure, again, those gathers look nice and even. And then we're going to sew that up. And we're basically done with our dress. All we'll need to do is hem and we'll be done. It would have been so much easier from the beginning if I would have just not sewn those shoulders together, which is what I did. And then I had to end up seam ripping the shoulders, which really didn't take that long. But for a second there, I was sitting there thinking, how am I going to fix this? Let me know below if you have tried this dress and if you did it with the zipper or not. There is actually on Tiana's Closet, when you go to the website to look up this pattern, when it gives you the instructions, there's actually a video that it shows you how to do the zipper. I haven't watched the video, so I don't know how it is, but it does say on the pattern, like, here's a video on how to sew the zipper. So if you need help with that, it's on there, so go check it out. All right, all we've got left to do now is to turn it right side out and hem it. All right, friends, we are done with this dress. It turned out so good. I was a little bit worried when I realized the shoulder mishap, but I fixed that and it was such a quick and simple sew. I love this gathered skirt at the bottom, the princess seams, just the shape of the back. I mean, it's just adorable. And this fabric, is it not the most gorgeous fabric? Again, I got this fabric from Boho Fabrics, so I haven't checked to see if they still have it, but if they do, you need to go grab it because it's gorgeous. I just love how this turned out. What do you think? I hope you love this tutorial. I hope you go grab your pattern and come back and sew it up with me. Oh, one more thing. I think that this pattern would also make a gorgeous skirt. Can you imagine this dramatic ruffle as a skirt? I think that would be so super cute. I almost feel like I want to cut this up and make it into separates so I could wear it like a dress, but I could also wear it with like a black pretty top, or, you know, and the top I could wear with a black skirt, or I don't know, like, possibilities are endless. And you could do that by just adding a waistband here if you're doing the knit. if you're doing the woven, you could also add a waistband and just still add a zipper, but you would just go lower and still make a skirt option. But anyway, I think it's so cute. What do you think? Let me know below. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe so you never miss any of my tutorials. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you next time with another free sew or hack, or let me know what you want to see. Bye.